Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. It's the tournament. We are once again in the B pool. And we're going to be seeing China versus Spain. China has lost once, won once. Spain has only fought one battle. And if they win this one, they could find themselves at the top of the leaderboard. At least for the B pool. So let's figure out, can these Spanish warships deal with the Chinese Wangs? Or, well, Wongs as I'm supposed to pronounce them. This tournament is currently sponsored by The Block Zone. You can see them here. The winner is going to get this 1 in 200 scale. It's a big one. Bismarck. The Bismarck is going to be taking up 1.25 meters in your living room once you have all 7,164 pieces complete. If you want to get a project from the Block Zone, they have a lot of them. They got military gear. I've recently actually made this car with Quinn. I'll add a clip. And they got all sorts of different gear. You can go for cars, you can go for military vehicles, which you might find yourself interested in, ranging from anything like a Ferdinand, a bridge layer, Abrams. We got a missile carrier tank. This seems to be something out of an odd contraption game. They got many projects, and yes, these projects are not necessarily cheap. But if you use code STEALTH upon checkout or use my link down below in the description, you're going to be getting 10% off, and you directly support the channel. Big thank you to the Block Zone for sponsoring the tournament and providing that Bismarck to the eventual winner, but we're not there yet. First, we have a couple of battles to do. Join me for the next one. Here we go. Wuhan, Wang, whatever, and the Taiyan. We've seen them before. They've succeeded once, they failed once. Let's see what this is going to bring them. They are definitely angling in, turning in towards the target. Perhaps they're going to finally close in the torpedo range. That would be amusing. We haven't really seen enough close-in battles yet, so I'm really hoping that today is going to be a little different. As for suggestions, I try to respond to as many comments as possible, and there have been a lot. Somebody wrote a really good comment that I'm going to use in potentially a next tournament, which is run the battles twice, once from every perspective, and then add up the points from sinking enemy ships. So if you have, let's say, a match like this, China wins, but Spain still manages to sink one of the Chinese ships, then Spain would get a point. Then you run the battle again, taking Spain as, let's say, blue team. And with that, you can then have another couple of points gained for Spain and or China, depending on how the battle goes. This way you also eliminate / make it a bit more balanced when it comes to potential for bugs. We've seen the gun bug a lot, and I don't like it, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it, except for rerunning the battle, which, well, for aforementioned reasons, isn't ideal. So what this new suggestion is going to be making it a bit more even, because your N, if you will, your sample size gets a little bigger. Now, the Spanish have been hit hard. That was a really good pin right through the aft belt. So that says something about the muzzle velocity of these Chinese ships. And apparently, even with this angle, they were still able to inflict serious damage. The main tower is on fire, the ship's flooding, if not a little bit. And that hole on her port side looks rather ghastly. That is not something that you really want to keep underwater. The Spanish are hitting back. So far, the Wang has taken some damage, but it's nothing too severe yet. Ooh, another one. Right on the stern, but there's an overpen, yet another flooding. Now the Spanish, like I said for the Chinese, also have torpedo launchers. That's a quintuple. That's 5 tubes on the port side and starboard side of the ship. At this rate, though, they either won't have torpedo launchers to begin with, or they're not going to get into range, because they're taking an awful lot of damage. Now, the Spanish ships are only using 12.6s, and you see that they're getting some damage in, but they're quite struggling with being able to damage the Chinese ships. Those bow and stern deck armors are fair game. Belts, main towers, all that jazz, it's not that good. So I guess they're going to have to rely on the potential for high explosive volleys. And they do have 12 barrels, so yeah, they can inflict a whole lot of burning damage. Plus 5.1 in secondary guns for additional fire damage. If the Chinese are able to keep this up, this level of damage, I fear for the longevity of the Spanish. Because they're taking... Well, at this rate, they're going to take a warship out of commission in probably 6 more minutes of in-game time. And that would severely hamper the Spanish DPS. Ooh! Oh! 2100 damage right through the foredeck of the Spanish ships. And there's another, destroying a main gun from the Spanish ship. The A turret is gone. The Chinese are taking some damage. They're sailing broadside on, which is quite daring. Yet, I don't find that the Spanish are able to do that much. If they're able to destroy the superstructure on the Chinese ship, that would definitely help them. But I rather doubt it. There goes another volley. Oh, a full pen. Right through the... Yep, the foredeck. It's one of the few positions that the Chinese ships are vulnerable at. Ooh, partial pen, over pen. The next salvo is about to arrive. Oh, and it all missed. Some reprieve for the Spanish. They're going to start struggling with keeping the ship level enough to fire the guns. For now, it shouldn't be that much of an issue. Now, when it comes to the Spanish last turret, the Y turret, it's slightly poorly positioned, considering that right now she can only use B and X. She cannot use that stern turret. And I don't think that's going to go for all... Well, yeah, it is going to go for all ships. The Spanish are sailing at such an angle that makes it impossible to bring their full DPS to bear. Wang has taken some more damage. Her 5.9 in secondaries, outranging those of the Spanish, are now joining the fight. They are, however, selecting armor-piercing shell, so I don't expect them to deal a whole lot of damage. Ooh, the Spanish got away pretty clean there with a whole bunch of ricochets. But it does look like this thing is going to go down to flooding, of all things. Oh, oh, main tower destroyed. Fire control has been damaged. That's bad news. Gonna hit you in 2 ways. 1, your accuracy is down. 2, you're going to be very much struggling with trying to keep the ship alive. And it does not seem like they need a whole lot more to go down. Starboard side, secondaries are underwater. And flooding again. Nice shell ricocheting off the side. Another partial and an overpen. I'm surprised she hasn't sunk yet. The other 2 Spanish ships are entirely intact. Now it's going to be interesting to see if the Wuhan and the other ships change their target. And they might have? Yes, they switched targets to the lead Spanish ship, but the secondaries are still working over the extremely damaged Spanish warship here. But I think they don't need to. She's gone. 1 kill to the Chinese. Spanish are down 1 ship. Now again, this is not a deciding factor, not yet. The Spanish have that rate of fire. They have their barrels, yeah, and this is going to be increasingly painful for the Chinese as they get closer and closer and closer. They are becoming more vulnerable to those Spanish guns. So the Wuhan just lost about 8% in 1 volley from the Spanish, and the Spanish have rate of fire advantage. They can still capitalize on that. When it comes to torpedo launchers, we got a range of 11. If the Spanish ships still have torpedo launchers, then they are in range. They also got the 11. I'd say the Spanish, torpedo-wise, have the advantage, because they can rotate their torpedo tubes. The Wuhan, for example, can't do that very well, because they're bow and side-mounted launchers. And with that, you're going to have to risk a lot of the ship if you want to make those torpedoes work. What's the status? Yeah, status on the Wang is not great. She's falling back a little bit to make sure that she can lick her wounds, potentially get rid of some of that flooding, and just overall have somebody else do the tanking. And the Spanish apparently are happy to oblige. They're they're switching target to the Wuhan with everything they have. Wuhan doesn't entirely appreciate that, but she has a lot more health than the Wang, so she'll be able to take it for now. Range 9 kilometers. Identification is 70%. I wouldn't be surprised if we're suddenly going to see torpedoes popping up. And the Chinese ships are vulnerable when it comes to torpedoes. They can't see them. And on top of that, they don't have a very high anti-torpedo blister. Oh, this is going to be painful. Oof. Still a whole bunch of ricochets. Lots of shells falling off into the ocean. But Wuhan is getting kicked pretty hard. We see the torpedo launcher. Yeah. Like, I'm seeing the launcher still active. It's still functional. But whether it is able to use the torpedoes inside, I don't know. Oh. That looked painful. This thing is taking a whole lot of fire damage now. If the Spanish would actually start using high explosive, then the Chinese are going to run into a ton of trouble. But it looks like I'm just seeing AP, because I'm seeing a whole lot of ricochets. HE generally does not ricochet. Ooh, Wuhan's down to 60% buoyancy now. 84% ID. 85% ID there. 900 damage on the Spanish, and the Chinese takes just over 1,000, I think. If the Spanish want to make this work, they're going to have to torpedo one, if not more, of the Chinese ships out of existence. But at this rate, I don't expect to see that happen. I'd love to see it happen. I want to see something dramatically shift the balance of power in this battle, but right now, I doubt it. Damage to the secondary guns, flooding, structural integrity is dropping on the ship. It does seem like her fires are much more under control than they were. There we go. Yeah, they're still firing armor-piercing shells. They're going after the Taiyan. Why? You can't pen that. Wuhan's changing. He's trying to fall in behind the Taiyan, and then we're gonna have the damaged Wang behind it. 6k damage, 6.6k damage, 11k. Wuhan has done a lot of work. Torpedo-wise... Oh, all the 5-inchers have been destroyed on the Spanish flora. Torpedo launchers are just not responding to orders. Or they don't have an angle. I'm not sure what it is, but they're just not firing. If these guys had launched torpedoes, that 22-inch torpedo can deal a substantial blow to the Spanish ships. Sorry, to the Chinese ships. Flora looks to be the next victim here. Her crew is down to 20% crew losses. Oh, main guns are still going after the Santa Rosa. Flooding on the Santa Rosa. The full health Taiyan now taking the lead. Overpen. Torpedoes away from the Chinese. Interesting. How well can the Spanish handle those? Sonar 1 should allow them some warning. These torpedoes have slightly higher visibility because they're fast torps. They are 22-inch, like the Spanish. You can see the Spanish ships already responding to the torpedo threat. At least the Santa Rosa is changing direction. Yeah, and there goes the Flora as well. She is not waiting to find out what those torpedoes can do to her. And all the while, the Spanish ships just don't use their torps. Could have been a game changer. I mean, it would have been so much fun. Oh, Jesus, 6,000 damage. Flora just got her head done in by that folly. And on top of that, her damage control is starting to wither. She still has her main tower, but I think it might be the structural integrity. Yeah, there you go. The structural integrity just went down so fast. Leaving only the Santa Rosa. Oh! We finally have a torpedo launch. It took them long enough. But I think Wuhan's gonna take a torp, and Wang might too. This is gonna be unpleasant for the Chinese. 2,600, 3,700. Ooh, boy. I think they'll be able to survive this. But it's going to get rather unpleasant. Yeah, they got only 2 floodings there. No flooding there. Oh, there's another salvo. This time, the Taiyan is very much at risk. If they'd done this like 15 minutes ago, this would have been a far better result. Taiyan also sent out torps. There's a big hit on the Taiyan. Wuhan's going to take another torp. Oh, the Santa Rosa goes down. Saving the Chinese. Oh, and it's a dud. But those 2 weren't. Oh, man. That was a good change. That was a good turn of events. Big damage to the Yuang. The other ships are fine. Now, I wonder, can I do better? Let's go have a look. I'm going to swap up the teams. So that I'll be able to take charge of the Spanish ships. And then we're going to do it again. Of course, that won't count for points. I'm just wondering if I can make these Spanish ships work better. They're slightly under budget. Which does lead me to believe that you can improve the crew veterancy. But that's not something I'm going to do. Because that does feel a little bit like tinkering and cheating with the ship. I don't want to do that. We're going to fire high explosive. Because I believe that that's what the Spanish ships are best at. They are firing soft-capped HE shells. Enough to overcome most structural integrity issues. Or most armor issues with the ships. And hopefully being able to burn off some of the Chinese crew. So that the second phase of the operation is going to be a torpedo attack. One that, because of a lack of crew, is going to hit them even harder. I'm seeing more fires being set. And this is always the... I'm not going to say the luck of the draw. But the AI doesn't quite understand that in this situation, high explosive is just far preferable over armor piercing. Because you can't pen the Chinese ships. You just don't. So this means you're going to have to try something a little different. You're going to have to fling a whole bunch of high explosive at them. And make sure that they burn down. Is it a vile tactic? Sure. Good lord, what happened to you, dude? That's not good. Yeah, it's a vile tactic. But it works. It just works. As they would say over at Bethesda. It does seem like this Chinese ship is having a bad day. But it's not burning nearly as badly as I want it to. Okay, we're going to launch torpedoes at the lead ship. We're going to launch torpedoes at the second ship. I need to figure out at what angle the Spanish ships are able to launch their torpedoes. I can barely see the torpedo launcher. There it is. Esperanza is taking such a battering. I need to eliminate one of these Chinese ships quickly now. Ah, that helps. Main tower destroyed. Pedro Ximenez is no more. I only have 2 ships left. Aggressively launch your torps. I don't care how you do it, I just need it done. With both the Esperanza and the Santa Rita, we need to eliminate these guys very, very quickly. I'm still not firing AP. Oh god. There goes the launcher on the Esperanza. Esperanza's gonna try and fall back now. Santa Rita, oh shit, my secondaries are barely functional and the torpedo launchers are gone. Yeah, I very much doubt I can make this work. I very, very much doubt it. Oh, there she goes. Extensive fire. Next target. Everybody shoot HE. We got a torpedo launch from Santa Rita. Oh, it was the Esperanza that didn't have any torps left. Okay. New deal. Santa Rita, hard to port. Get your starboard torpedo set away. And she did. So now there are 10 torpedoes cruising towards these Spanish ships. Oh, sorry, the Chinese ships. I was looking at the Spanish. Do they know? Yeah, they know. Can they react? I fear the answer is going to be yes. But I don't... Yeah. This is probably some precognition bullshit. The Anyang detects torpedoes at 10:31. I wonder how, because you don't have a sonar. And sure enough, these are fast torpedoes, so yeah, they're going to be more detectable. But they're not that much more detectable. We didn't see the Chinese ships respond nearly this much in the previous round when they are controlled by the AI. So the enemy in the form of the AI definitely sees a whole lot more of torpedoes than I do as the player. Ow. And potentially that's to make the AI more, I don't know, more competitive, but I don't like the mechanic that much. Goodbye, Esperanza. I cannot take down the Haiku quickly enough. Santa Rita is going to take a whole lot of damage right after. Esperanza's down. And yes, I know I'm sailing her broadside, but I'm trying to get as much damage out of her as possible before she goes down. Santa Rita is going to make one last attack. I'm seeing a whole bunch of fires that are very quickly put out here by the crew of the Haiku. Santa Rita stuck in her turn. Lost a tower, lost a turret. Torpedoes incoming from the Chinese. It's a little late, but I don't think they're going to do much. Ah, my rudder's back. Sort of. Yeah, it functions. Okay, good. Oh. More damage, more flooding. More flooding. Santa Rita. Turning. Yeah, she's gone. Uh-oh. So even if I take manual control of these ships, I can't make it work. Leads me to believe that the Chinese ships are of a better design. They just function better than the Spanish ships. So we're going to give the points to the Spanish. No. Good lord. Get with the teams. We're going to give the points to the Chinese. So with that, we're going to give the points to the Chinese, not the Spanish. The Chinese climb in the rankings. They are doing quite well. They have lost a battle, to be sure. They haven't been at a perfect score. They have had a loss, which I believe was at the hands of the Austro-Hungarians. The Austro-Hungarians are coming up next in this round. That is Austria-Hungary versus Russia. But first, we're going to see France versus Italy. Now, when it comes to the standings, the Chinese are leading by 2 wins and only 1 loss. Austria-Hungary, a very serious contender with the high explosive spam that they can do. Is that going to be enough to save them? Don't know. The next foe is Russia, so yeah, potentially. It's going to be tricky. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the battle. I hope you've enjoyed the tournament so far. There are still a couple of rounds left, so plenty to do. Be sure to join me for those, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon for more battles.